So when we designed this new designer template set, we had a new scrapbooker in mind. It breaks my heart when I see someone mention how overwhelmed they are, or, it's so expensive to get started scrapbooking in this hobby because you have to buy all these shiny tools. Or when, for example, a dear friend of mine just went to a store and was talking about going to a crop for the first time. And she was like, well, what do I need to bring? And this lady pulls out a huge long list. And I asked her how that made her feel, and she said it made me feel overwhelmed and inadequate in a lot of ways. And that just broke my heart. So this new set was designed with that new scrapbooker in mind, to share with you that you really only need a few basic tools to get started, but also the designer templates are not just for the new scrapbooker, by all means. It is also for the veteran, the scrapbooker that is overwhelmed with not getting much accomplished, staring at an empty page, having too much paper stash, not sure what to do with it. And all I can tell you is that from my personal experience, I have completed more layouts than ever before, and I'm really happy with the finished results. So let me share with you the basic steps of how we do this, which is really down to 5 steps when it comes to scrapbooking: design, trace, cut, ink, replace, and you will love the end results. So first, let's go over the tools that you will need. You will need a paper trimmer, ink, dauber, pencil, scissors, adhesive, a designer template set, in this case, Nature Walk scrapbooking set, as well as some paper that you will be using to scrapbook your pictures. Now, we are only going to be using the Nature Walk designer template set in all of the samples that you're going to see in this video. So the first step is to design your layout using the designer templates, and you're just going to play with the different designs, layer them, different combinations. Key here is to play with the design and not stare at an empty page as you're inspired by the designer templates to come up with different combinations and layers. Once you have your layout designed, you can start with the borders to trace those out. You're just going to align them on the paper that you'd like to trace them out of, trace along the inside edge, and then make a mark on the outside edge. Where you make that mark, you're just going to do a straight cut with your paper trimmer. And then one cut up the center will give you those 2 pieces. So one cut will give you 2 different borders. If you are designing a 2-page layout, this is going to be great because you're going to put one on the left and one on the right, which we'll go over here in a moment, or you can utilize them on a 1-pager. Next, we recommend 2 inks. So you see just kind of a basic inking along the edges, anything that's really going to show, and this gives it a nice contrast, hides any blemishes, imperfections. It also hides any pencil lines that you might have, so just simply ink right over them. So then you're just going to replace. So trace, cut, ink, replace, and you'll do that with each of those layers depending on how many layers you designed initially with. There's no guesswork, and you can literally do this anywhere. You'll be surprised how many pages you'll be finishing quicker because it is simple, and of course using up your paper stash at the same time. So now we're going to go ahead and do a more intricate pattern like this flower. So first I recommend to trace it onto your paper using, of course, a pencil, and then we're going to detach the whole piece from the larger sheet. So if you're using a 12 by 12, if you're using a scrap of paper, then most likely it's already small, but detach it, and then we're going to trim around the edges. Now you'll notice here that I'm gliding the design through my scissors and rotating it with my left hand as I do such. The trick here is to do small short cuts, and we have a lot of videos on tips for cutting to kind of bring back to those basics cutting tips. Next, you would ink the edges, and a dauber works great for these more detailed ones, especially since you can pull back the petals and get the ink down inside of the petals, and then it's a nice layered look. Very simple, easy to accomplish with just a few sheets of paper. You are going to love the finished result, and the beautiful thing about the designer templates is they are a tool that you can use over and over again to create multiple different scrapbooking pages. The moment that you change that paper for a new design, the look changes with it, and you'll be surprised how many different combinations of layers, details, and arrangements of layout options there are.